1 Corinthians 2 and 5. Am I in the right place? 2 and 5. All right. 1 Corinthians 2 and 5. Barashith bara Elohim et hashemayim we et haras. Did I do that right, Cindy? That's not it. Is that the wrong book? All right. We ha'aras hatia tohu wabuhu. What was that? Yeah. Barashith 1 and 2. Genesis 1 and 2. All right. Hina. Hey. Pistis. Himon. May. A. Now you see that we had hey and now we have a. You see the difference? What's the difference in it? The rough breather. All right. One of them's got a circumflex over it too, doesn't it? In Sophia. Anthropon. All. And Dynamite Theou. And I think the mic's up hot. Turn that down just a little bit. In order that, that's what the word hina is, in order that. Now, I want you to open up your little Greek grammars that I wrote, the little Greek grammar, on page 31. It says commonly used Greek parts of speech. I want to teach you how to use this just a little bit. Page 31. All right, if you mark them. We didn't mark them when we printed it. Are you there? All right, now run down there just a little bit. Do you see where hina is? See where hina is down there on the left-hand column? It's down toward the bottom, about 5 or 6 up from the bottom. And it says, you see it? Hina. What does it say down there? In order that. All right, in order that. And it is what? It's a conjunction. And where do you find that? In the Analytical Greek Lexicon. Page 201. All right. I thought I would just show that to you for just a minute. Now, in order that the faith of ye, the faith, he pistis, the faith, nominee singular feminine, of ye, belonging to you. All right, that's the case of possession. Belonging to you all. That is second person plural, genitive singular. Belonging to you. See that word hemon there, 1, 2, 3, fourth letter. And it starts out with an ypsilon. It looks like a U. And it has a rough breather over it, so you can say hemon. And then the omega there has got a circumflex over it. See that? That circumflex makes it go hemon. All right? May. Now, go back to your little Greek grammar again. All right? And on page 32, look on page 32. All right? See that? Page 30. You'll need to mark them up there. It'll look like this. It'll say commonly used Greek parts of speech. Continued. All right. Page 32. And look down there halfway down the page. And what does it say there? Who found that? Brother Steve, are you there? Not May. 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 We're looking for May. May. This word right here. That word right there, may. Particle of negation. All right. What is, by the way, what is the adverb of negation? What is that? Uk. All right. All right. So this is the particle of negation, page 268, if you want to write it down. Not may it become, is what it literally says there. That a there is third person singular present subjunctive active from Amy. Not may it become in or among or in wisdom of man, in wisdom of mankind. That means Adamic wisdom. Now, People think that they're free agents, don't they? You think you're a free agent? What does that mean? If you don't want to follow God, you can just do what? Your own thing. That doesn't happen. You don't do your own thing. You're either in one or two ball games. You're either in God's ball game or you're in the devil's ball game. Either the God of heaven is using you with His Spirit, or you are allowing yourself to be a tool of Satan. There's only two games to play. That's it. You're in one or two of those games. Period. That's it. There is no halfway in between ground. Okay. It says, in order that the faith of you may it not be in wisdom of mankind, but in the dynamite, theou. All right, I wrote up some things here up on the board, and Brother Dick asked me a question over there a while ago, and he said, what in the Septuagint? How do you say, what's the abbreviation for Septuagint? The abbreviation. That's, anytime you see that in a book, that means the Septuagint right there. LXX. LXX. Lambda Kiki. That's what it is. They call them Roman numerals, but it's really not Roman numerals. Those are Greek letters. The Romans kind of borrowed it. Okay? In the Septuagint, the word Jehovah is usually translated, I don't know whether I don't think it's translated any other way than Kyrios. They call Jesus Kyrios in the New Testament all the time. The word theos in Greek is always translated Elohim. All right? And of course in John 1:1, when it talks about in arche ein ho logos, in beginning, kept on being the Word. That's what we're talking about. The var. And then in Jeremiah 1:2, Jeremiah says, and the word of Jehovah. And that's very weak in English, because Jehovah and His word are equal. Jehovah's word is Jehovah, and the word is Jehovah. Jehovah is equal to His word. God's word is inspired. Okay? Now don't just grab a verse out of the Bible someplace and say this is inspired. Because sometimes it isn't inspired. Sometimes it might be the devil's speech. It might be in the book of Job. It might even be one of Job's friends talking. So don't just grab something and say, "This every word in here is inspired." Find out what it's talking about first. Find out who it's quoting. In the New Testament, it might be quoting somebody else, some bad guy or some bad woman. All right. So anyway, here we have this. Theos is Elohim. In John 1:1, John makes very plain who he's talking about when he's talking about Jesus. He's talking about Jehovah. And Jehovah is equal to His word, and His word is equal to Him. Okay? That's very beautiful. And we need to understand that in Greek, because the Septuagint was a commonly used translation of the Bible in Jesus' time. Hardly ever did they use Hebrew. The Septuagint. All right. In order that the faith of you, Brother Harry, can you turn that down just one more notch? That thing's ringing. In order that the faith of ye not may it become in wisdom of mankind. That one right there. Thank you very much. Wisdom of mankind, but in dynamite, belonging to God. Theou. All right, theou is what? What case is that? It's genitive, singular, masculine. It tells us that. The omicron epsilon on the end of it, the OU, tells us that it's a genitive case. And the genitive case is a case of what? Possession. God owns power. Let's just think about dynamis now. We looked that word up here a while back. Let's look at some words in English that come from dynamis. The first one that comes to mind is what? Dynamite. Dynamite's powerful. It's full of nitroglycerin. All right. How about Dyna? Dynamo. Every one of these we see energy, don't we? Dynamic. These are all English words that come from this Greek word now. Dynamism. Dynamism. Dynameter. Dynameter. What is a dynameter? That's a meter or a gauge that measures energy. Okay? Dynamometry. All right? Dynamometry. Dynamotor. Dyno-tune. Do you know that every time you get your car smogged, that they put it on a machine now, and that's what you call a dynometer, or that's a dyno tuning it. They'll take it and they'll find out how hard it's pulling and all this. You know, they strap it down and they turn the wheels, the front wheels or the back wheels, and that's going on a dyno. That's what you call a dyno. And what does it mean? What does a dyno mean? Power. Power. Used to, well, they still do this. Will build racing engines, and they'll take them and put them on a dynometer, and they'll find out how much power is going to the wheels of that car, how much energy. And they'll say it is like 500 brake horsepower. All right, 500 brake horsepower to the wheels. To the wheels. So you'll know how much is going, how much energy is on the wheel. Now let's look at this verse here. And Penny, are you afraid to get up here and read? You could do that. Can you bring your bike book up here in just a minute? Well, just hold on. I'm going to give you a little time. All right. I know you've got your book out there. In order that the faith of ye not may it be in wisdom of man, but in power of God. All right. This word "in power of God," this means to be immersed in the power of God. See that word "in" there? What English word comes from that word "in"? This is real easy. If you miss this one, you flunk for the night. In, all right. Our Greek preposition "in." And what page is in? That was real. You didn't say something different, did you, Harry? In, page 137 in the Analytical Greek Lexicon. Okay, if you want to write that down. All right, page 137. Now, Penny, you want to come up here and read that real quick? This talk. Yeah. Everybody all over in every continent in the whole world is watching.
Oh, shake.
All right.
Okay. So that your faith might not rest in the wisdom of man, human philosophy, but in the power of God.
All right. Human philosophy, but in the power of God. Now, did Jesus prove that he was God? Just think about that for a minute. How did he prove that he was God? How did Jesus prove that he was God? How did it happen? What? He rose from the dead, yes, but Brother Harry, you got the veil. He did what? He performed lots of miracles. And miracles are an explanation or a display of what? Dynamis. Dynamis. Great power. Now, Jesus proved to all of those around him, just think about it for a while. I've repeated myself on this, but some of you aren't in all the classes. Okay. When Jesus came to Israel, he said to the lost house, the lost sheep of the house of Israel, didn't he? Okay. And he performed all the miracles for whom? Why did he perform them? For the Jews to begin with. To prove what? That he indeed was Jehovah Elohim, the Lord God. All right? We looked at Deuteronomy 6 and 4 a while ago. Hear, O Israel, Shema. All right? Hear, O Yisrael. Jehovah, that's the word Devar there. Jehovah, God, one. That's who he is. He's one. There isn't any other. There aren't any. How many Jehovahs are there? One. So if Jesus says he's Jehovah, that means there's not another Jehovah, doesn't it? Simple as that. Now, Jesus, by his tremendous miracles, John 2:11 and 11:14, John 14:24, John 21 and verse 24, and 25, and John 20, 30, and 31. I want us to look at some of those. This verse is extremely important. If you get this one, you'll get the rest of it. If you don't get this one, you're not going to get the rest of the story. All right? Let's go to this now. John, the second chapter, kata iwane. Kata iwane. What in the world does kata iwane mean? Gospel according to John. It means according to John. But we're already taking into account that this is the gospel. There are 4 gospels, aren't there? There were 3 gospels. Why were there 3 gospels? Why did the law require at least 3 gospels to be written? By 2 or 3 witnesses, let everything be established. John wrote his gospel for one specific reason. His gospel is not a what? What are the 3 gospels or what? Matthew, Mark, and Luke are called what? Synoptics. Thank you. And synoptics comes from 2 Greek words. Seen and ophthalmos, to look with your eye, or to see. Okay? The other one, what is John? How does he look at Jesus? As Jehovah God. Period. That's it. He is displaying Jesus as Jehovah God because he believed that he needed to prove without a shadow of a doubt that Jesus is Jehovah God. So now John 2 and verse 11. 2 and verse 11. 2 and verse 11 in the Gospel according to John. Let's go all the way 2 and verse 1. On the 3rd day there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there, and Jesus was also invited, and his disciples. That means he already had disciples. Then he already had begun to call out his church. All right? To the wedding. And when the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, they have no wine. And Jesus said to her, woman, what I got to do with you? My hour has not yet come. And his mother said to the servants, whatever he says to you, do it. Now there was 6 stone water pots set there for the Jewish custom of purification. What does that mean? Why were the 6 water pots there? Brother Roger? Washing your hands. Washing your feet, washing your hands. They would do this. This is for purification. Okay? Containing 20 or 30 gallons each. Pretty good sized water pots, okay? What? 30 people. Yeah. 30 people. And Jesus said to them, fill the water pots with water, and they filled them to the brim. Archit trikalinas. All right? And he said to them, draw some out now, and take to the head waiter, to the governor of the feast. And they took it to him. And when the head waiter tasted the water, which had become wine, and did not know where it had come from, but the servants who had drawn the water knew. And the head waiter called the bridegroom. And he said to him, every man serves good wine first. And when men have become inebriated, you know what that means? Loop-legged. Yeah, loop-legged, drunk. Then, the wine that is of a lower grade, you give to him. And you have kept the good wine until now. And the beginning of his what? Does it say there? Okay. Does anybody have that in Greek? Do you know what that says in Greek? Anybody have a Greek Bible there? Greek. Let's look at that now. John 2. And verse 11. 2 and verse 11. Tauta epoesen arche ton seimion. This he did in the beginning of the sign. Seimion. What does seimion mean? Huh? Seimion means, that's in Hebrew. In Hebrew it means to listen. In Greek, this means some great, fantastic sign. This is like a sign coming out of heaven. What kind of sign this is talking about is a sign that what happened up there on Mount Carmel when Elijah and the prophets of Baal had the contest. There was a sign come down out of heaven and lapped up all the water. And what else happened there that day to the prophets of Baal? Huh? It burned them up. A sign, a great sign. Now, was there any way that lightning could have struck every one of them and done this? Was there any way that any act of nature could have taken care of all of this? So it must be an absolute miracle. A display of Dynamis. Okay? The signs of Jesus in Cana of Galilee, and manifested the glory of him. And they kept on believing in him, the disciples of him. Manifested. Look at the word manifested there. Manifested. What does the word manifested there mean? Ephanerosin. What do you think that might mean, Cindy? Okay, but what does it literally mean in Greek? It means, huh? Display on a stage. This is the word here for all the lighted stage. When they would have a stage, when they would stage something, they would light the stage and put lamps out there with polished mirrors and beaming everything from every angle. And when they used to, when they still do movies, how many of you ever been on a movie set? Huh? I'll tell you what, it'll blind you. The last movie I was in was called Charlie Barrick. Have you ever seen that movie, Charlie Barrick? Charlie Barrick. I was the Indian standing behind the hitman. Out in the middle of nowhere, the hitman goes in there and is going to buy something. And he said, "We want you. Come over here. Sign this piece of paper." And all this kind of stuff. And I stood behind this hitman that was going to go try to kill, what in the world was his name? Walter Matthau. So anyway, I got to stand back there just like this, with my long braids and my hat on, because they needed that, they said. They wanted me. All I wanted to do was buy some gasoline. They wanted me to stand in this movie. Well, boy, there was a lot of lights. They don't want a shadow anywhere. So they have lights all around you, and it's hot. All the time. If you look at some of the old Gene Autry movies, if you go and Roy Rogers, you'll see that up there in the Alabama hills up by Lone Pine, they had all kinds of reflectors reflecting the sun all over them, and they're sitting out here singing and going on around a so-called campfire with lights, no shadows. That's what this word ephanesin means. No shadows. Thoroughly displayed. There was no doubt at all, no doubt, that these were not acts of power. Okay? Let's go on a little further. All right, that's John 2 and 11, and then John 11 and verse 14. John 11 and verse 14. A little bit further on down the road. Kata Iwane, 11 and 14. All right. Now, right here, we're talking about the death of Lazarus. And Lazarus dies. And Lazarus has been dead how many days? 3 days. He's dead. Not only is he dead, but he's starting to smell real bad. I was out on the farm the other day, and I started smelling something stinking. I knew something had died someplace, because you can start smelling it after a little while, Something stinking, so you start looking for the dead thing. Lazarus had started smelling, stinking. And Jesus therefore to them plainly, Lazarus is dead. All right? Jesus answered in verse number 11. And this he said after he had said to them, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I go that I may awaken him out of sleep. And the disciples therefore said to them, Lord, if he has fallen asleep, will he recover? Now Jesus had spoken of his death, but they thought that he was speaking of literal sleep. And therefore in verse number 14, and there Jesus said for them plainly, Lazarus is dead. I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, so that you may believe. That you may believe. Why did Jesus do the miracles? To prove he had power over all the acts of nature. When a person dies, you take somebody up here to the heart hospital or to Memorial Hospital or to San Joaquin Hospital or something, and they go into cardiac arrest, and if you leave them alone, they're going to stay dead. But they can shock them and bring them back to life. As long as the Spirit's in them, they might get them back. But sometimes they just go away. They're gone. How about if that person was gone for 3 days, they'd been in the morgue, and they already had embalmed him and everything else, and Jesus comes by and says, Lazarus, raise up. And he walks up and walks on. That's beyond any chance, isn't it? There's no chance that this would happen by nature, is it? Not going to happen by nature. Long time ago, before they embalmed people, people died. They thought. And how many of you, well, there aren't very many of you people old here. You're all youngsters. All right? There was an old saying that your fingernails and your hair keeps on growing after you die. You ever hear that term? Oh, what? That doesn't happen. If your fingernails and your hair keeps growing after you die, that means they buried you while you were still alive. And that happened. That happened a lot. A lot of people will be in such a deep coma they will their heart will only beat like once or twice a minute. Or they can't figure they're even beating. And they only breathe very seldom or very shallow. And they used to polish a mirror and put it over his face and see if there was breath coming out of it, see if they had breathed out. Well, they used to bury people that were dead. But they didn't stink. They didn't decompose. They laid there in the coffin sometime for a long time before they actually died, long enough for their hair to grow 2 or 3 inches sometimes, and their fingernails to grow. That's sad, huh? But this man was dead. He was dead. His spirit was not there. He had started to decompose. He was smelling. Okay? And why did he say, and I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, so that you may believe, but let us go to him. He said, Thomas, Thomas was what a problem old Dynamis. Dynamis means twin. Okay? Why are we going there? So that we may die with him? So when Jesus came, he found that they had already in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany is near Jerusalem, about 2 miles off, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them. Many of the who? Why do you think that they showed up? Why was Jesus going to raise this dead man in front of these Jews, representatives of Judaism? I have come to the lost house, or the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Martha, therefore, when she had heard that Jesus had come, met him, and Mary still sat in the house. And Martha, therefore, said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. And even now I know that whatsoever you ask of God, God will give you. And Jesus said to him, your brother shall rise again. And Martha said to him, what? Oh, I know. I believe in the resurrection on the last day. And Jesus said to her, what? I am the resurrection. How do you say that in Greek, Cindy? How do you say resurrection? You know how do you do that? Anastasia. Anastasia. I am Anastasia. Remember Anastasia, the Russian princess? Her name was Resurrection. Anastasia. I am Anastasia. I am the resurrection. I am the resurrection and the life, and he who believes me shall live even if he dies, and everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? And she said to him, Yes, Lord, I have believed that you are the Christ, the Son of God. When she said Son of God, what does she mean? Genesis 3:15, the son of the woman, the promised Messiah. He's the promised Messiah. He's God in flesh. Even he who comes into the world. Genesis 3:15 fulfilled. She knew who he was. This is the fulfillment of Genesis 3:15. What was that? The first promise of the Messiah in the Bible. The seed of the woman would overcome the seed of the serpent. And when she had said that, she went away and called Mary, her sister, saying secretly, the teacher is here and is calling for you. And when she heard it, she arose quickly and was coming to him. Now Jesus had not yet come into the village, was still in a place where Martha met him. And the Jews, circle that Jews right there in your mind at least. And the Jews then were with her in the house, consoling her. And when they saw Mary, rose up quickly and went out, followed her. They followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to weep. Therefore, when Mary came to where Jesus was, she saw him and fell at his feet, saying, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. And when Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews came with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit, and he was weeping and troubled. And he said, Where have you laid him? And they said, Lord, come and see. And Jesus wept. That's supposed to be the shortest verse in the Bible. And so the Jews were saying, Behold, now he loved him. And some of them said, Could this man who opened the eyes of the blind, who opened the eyes of him who was blind, have kept this man from dying? Guess what's going to happen in front of you? You're going to see some dynamis. You're going to see a dynameter pegged out completely. And therefore again, being deeply moved, came to the tomb. Now it was a cave, and a stone was laying against it. And Jesus said, Remove the stone. And Martha, the sister of the deceased, said to him, Lord, by this time there is a stink, a smell. How long it had been? 4 days now. And Jesus said to her, Did I say to you, if you believe, you will see the glory, the power, the dynamis of God? And so they removed the stone, and Jesus raised his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I know that you heard me always, but because the people are standing around, I said that they may believe that you have sent me. How? If it wasn't for the miracles, would anybody have believed? Would it have been valid? The Old Testament said that the Messiah would bring forth all these dynamis, all this power. And when he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. He who had died came forth, bound hand and foot with wrappings, his face wrapped about with a cloth. And he said to them, Unbind him and let him go. Dynamis. Dynamis. Great powers. Seimion. Signs. Wonders. Okay? Let's go on. This is what he's talking about. The power of God. In order that the faith of you, not it may be in the wisdom of mankind, but in the power, the dynamis of God. Now let's go to 14:24, John 14:24, a little further down the road. 14:24. Verse 23. And Jesus said to him, If anyone loves me, he will keep my word, and my Father will love him, and will come to him, and make our abode with him. And who does not love me does not keep my words. The word of which you hear is not mine, but the Father's who sent me. What was proving all this? These things I have spoken to you while abiding with you. All right? But the Helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father is sending in my name, will teach you all things and bring them to your remembrance. This is exactly what Paul's writing to this day. right here in 1 Corinthians, he is going to state this in a few moments, just a little bit further down the line. We are the witnesses. We witness the power of God. He said, peace I leave with you, and peace I give to you, as the world gives, not as the world gives, do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, nor let it be fearful. All right, let's go a little further. 21. John 21. Now, there's a lot of other places. Matthew 11, 4 through 6. Acts 20 and 20 and 10:38. 1 Corinthians 4 and 7, 6 and 7, 12 and 9. These are all cross-references to this. 21, 24 and 25. The last part of this book. This disciple is the one who bears witness of what? These things. Metatate. These things. All right? And wrote these things. And we know that his witness is true. And there are many also other things which Jesus did which were written in detail. I suppose that even the world itself could not contain the books which were written. Now let's go back into the 20th chapter. The 20th chapter. Right at the end of this chapter, this is where doubting Thomas was again. Thomas was a problem. Thomas wasn't going to believe that Jesus rose from the dead unless he's what? Huh? Unless he saw the nail prints in his hands. This is by the word where they were. They weren't really here. They were here. The Catholics, when they see the, what they call that, the what? Stigmata. They got it in the wrong place. It's here. They drove it through the carpal tunnel area. All right? Unless I put my hand in the prints of the nails in his hands, in his feet, and in his side. All right? This is Thomas. Now, Thomas has just believed, and he said, my Lord and my God, my Jehovah and my Elohim. That's what he said there, if you wanted to speak it in Hebrew, in the 28th chapter, the 28th verse of chapter 20. Verse 29, and Jesus said to them, because you have seen and you have believed, blessed are they who did not see and yet believed. That's the ones we're dealing with today. Verse number 30, and many other signs, therefore Jesus had performed in the presence of the disciples, which are not written in this book. But these have been written that you may believe that Jesus what? Is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you may what? Have eternal life. You may have eternal life. So now that's what we're talking about in this verse, this power of God. The miracles that Jesus did, I did the parables of Matthew 13. I think I did the parables of Matthew 13 in this church. I think I did 16 classes about 3 times. I thought about teaching about all the miracles of the Lord. Boy, that's something. If I could live long enough to do it. But here we have the dynamite power of God, don't we? The Dynamis. Remember that word, Dynamis. Dynamis. Page 107 in that little analytical Greek lexicon. Sophion. De lalomen en tois teleois. Sophion de u tu ionos. Tuton. Ude. Tone. Akonton. Tu ionos. Tuto. Tone. Katargumenon. More of wisdom we speak among the ones mature, the ones brought to the end result. Okay, the mature, the perfect you might say. So I think King James says perfect. It means not perfect, but it means mature, the final result. Perfect wisdom, and not of this age this, and not of the age this. Neither the leaders of the age this. This sounds like we're in election year. Telling every lie that they can tell, trying to influence every person they can influence. And you know what? Always, every age has a new wonderful program. They have great enlightenment that nobody else ever had, don't they? Every age has all of this. Every age has got the answer to all of our problems. Okay? Over the wisdom we speak in the mature wisdom, perfect wisdom, and not of this age, neither the leaders of the age this, the ones being brought to nothing. Boy, I think I taught the history of the world in 15 minutes here a while back, didn't I, Cindy? Yeah. Boy, isn't this something? History repeats itself over and over and over and over again. It never stops. It just keeps on going. And one writer once said, history repeats itself over and over. If people won't study history, then they'll repeat it over and over and over again. And they do. Ephesians 4:13, Philippians 3:15, Hebrews 5:14 and 6:1, Matthew 13:22, 1 Corinthians 1:20 and 28, Hebrews 6:5, 2 Timothy 4:10, and Titus 2:12, Ephesians 1:21, 2 Corinthians 4:4 are cross-reference to this. The revelation of God's Spirit. The revelation of God's Spirit. 2:6 through 16 is where that subject is discussed. Paul is drawing his great command of the Greek language to describe every term of mind and wisdom that there was, and showing and trying to compare the weakness of the wisdom of this world and the dynamis and the might and the perfection of the wisdom of God. All right. 2 and verse 7 now. Anybody say that first one? Allah. That's not talking about the Muslim God either. Strong adversity conjunction, page 15. Lalomen. Theou. Sophion. En mysterio. All right. What word is that in English? What word comes over from that? Mystery. It's not moostery either. It's not mustard. All right, it's mysterion. Mysterio. Tain. Apo kek krig krim manain. Cryptic comes from that word. Hayden. Pro. O resane. Ho theos. Pro, ton, ionion, ace, doxon, hemon. But we speak of God, wisdom, of God's wisdom, wisdom belonging to God, the highest word for wisdom. Like I said, every conceited little age has its own great enlightenment, don't they? The great enlightenment. Well, the Catholic Church brought in the Dark Ages, didn't they? And then we have the age of the what? The Renaissance. The age of the Renaissance. When man renews his mind again, and boy, did they have great artists. How many of you ever seen some of those Renaissance artists? They were great. But I'm going to tell you something. God's the greatest artist in the world. We can talk about Renaissance man. We can talk about every age of enlightenment. We can talk about the absolute acceleration of all the knowledge in the world today. I mean, you've got it at your fingertips if you've got a computer. Go to Google and you can find out anything almost. Romans 11:25 and 16:25, 8 and 29, Colossians 1:26, 1 Corinthians 2:1, Ephesians 1, the whole chapter, Colossians 1:26, 2 Thessalonians 2 and 7, Hebrews 1 and 2 and 1 and 11 and 30, Genesis 19:25 through 27, Romans 16:25, Hebrews 9 and 26, Acts 7 and 2. Got to go back to Genesis 19 for a few moments. Genesis, the 19th chapter. But we speak of God, the wisdom and the mystery, having been uncovered, brought out a secret, which he marked off beforehand, the God, before the ages, unto the glory of us. Okay? Before the ages he did this. Let's go back and let's see what in the world we're talking about here. Genesis, the 19th chapter. That's the first book in the Bible, bar a sheath, isn't it? Genesis, the 19th chapter. Way back yonder, did God know what he was going to do? Sure he did. Did we? No. We're just figuring it out right now. Genesis 19:25 through 27. Wrote down the wrong scripture. All right, go to Genesis 9. I wrote down one extra digit there. Genesis 9 and verse 20. 19 says, these were the three sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was populated. Noah began farming and planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine and became drunk and uncovered himself in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both of their shoulders and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were turned away so that they did not see their father's nakedness. And when Noah woke from his wine, he knew what his youngest son had done to him. And he said, cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants. Now, why didn't he curse Ham? Why didn't he curse Ham? There's about 1 million stories about this, all different kinds of stories. What? He would have been cursing himself, absolutely. If he cursed his son, he would curse himself. And he would have cursed the whole line. But he cursed one person. The rabbis have all kinds of explanations for this. One thing, maybe he committed a homosexual act with his father, which was not good. Another thing is maybe that he molested his mother. And the product of that was Canaan. The boy. Gotten. Possession. Okay? And that this product of incest would be cursed. And that this would be the people that inhabited the land of Canaan land or Palestine. Okay? Whatever it was, we don't really know, but it was bad. And God could foresee and look ahead because he is omniscient. All right? He knows all things. He knows all things, so he could look far ahead and see that the descendants of Canaan would be bad people. And these people are the ones that would go in and settled Palestine. And when Noah's sons from Shem would go down into Egypt, they would be brought back in the land, and they would take possession of the land. That's the sons of Jacob, or the sons of Israel. And they would possess the land of Canaan. Canaan was cursed for hundreds of years. The Southern Baptists believed that all black people were cursed, and that they were cursed to be slaves. That's an absolute lie. They used it for an excuse to make slaves, to hold slaves. Okay? He didn't curse Ham. He would have cursed himself. He cursed Canaan. And he would be a servant of servants. But that's not where I'm going for, but we looked at that just for a minute. Cursed be Canaan, as servant of servants, and he shall be to his brothers. All right, he would. And he also said, blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. Well, he's going to go in there and he's going to take the land that's flowing with milk and honey that all of these Canaanites had built in this land. And may God enlarge Japheth. What does Japheth mean? Japheth. What does it mean? Japheth. Enlarged or to spread out. That's what his name prophetically meant. Spread out. We find that every place where the Hamites went, that the Japheths would follow suit and make slaves out of them. And they weren't the cursed people. The Hamites would go out and they spread out. But this was before all of the things happened. But the Hamites were cursed. Their languages were cursed and divided. And this is long before all of that now, divisions of the earth. But they would go out in the farthest reaches of India, and even the Americas, and South America, and Australia, and New Zealand, and all of those places, and the Japhethites would follow them and enslave them. That would happen. All right? Without reason, but they'd do it. And let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and that's exactly what's going on today. That Japheth is dwelling in the tents of Shem, because the gospel is being carried out and given to the world through the Japhethites, not the Shemites. The Shemites have been set aside. And the Japhethites are dwelling in the tents of Shem, and they are the administrators of God's kingdom today, because the Jews wouldn't have it. All the miracles that Jesus performed, all the great signs, dynamite signs, they did not believe. And the gospel was given to the church, which became a Gentile church. Let Canaan be his servant. All right. Let's go on a little bit further. The mystery that was hidden. The mystery that was hidden. The secret doctrines, the secret things that was hidden. We know now, this chart up here is a great gift, people. Because you can sit there and you can look at all those secrets drawn. 2 and 8, and we'll quit right there. 2 and 8. Hain, Udes, Tone, Archon Tone, 2, Ionos, Tutu, Agnoken, Gar, Agnoson, Uk, On, Tone, Kirion, Tais, Doxes, Asta, Rulson. Which no one, not one of the leaders of the age, he has known, for since they knew not if the Lord of the glory they would have crucified. He's gone back. He's talking, Paul was God's answer to Stephen's prayer, wasn't he? Paul, when he said they know not what they do, when they were stoning him and he was about to die, and he asked forgiveness, and the man that was standing there that ordered the death of Stephen would become the champion of the Gentiles. The Jews stood there, and he was the leader of those Jews, and that he would become the leader of the churches of the Lord and the leader of those Gentile churches. They knew not the Lord of us, the glory, they would have crucified. All right. Who wants to read that Amplified Bible? Brother Harry, you got Amplified Bible with you? Not tonight. Anybody want to come up here and read it? Penny, you want to do that again? Cindy, who want to do this? How about your daughter there? You want to come up here and read for me? Come up here. They can't hear you back there. All right. Come up here and read up to verse number 8.
Starting on verse number.
Yes. Where'd you read, Penny? Where? 5. Go all the way from 5 through 8. 5 through 8.
Okay, 5.
Uh-huh.
So that your faith might not rest in the wisdom of man, human philosophy, but in the power of God. Yet when we are among the full-grown, spiritually mature Christians who are ripe in understanding, we do impart a higher wisdom, the knowledge of divine plan previously hidden. But it is indeed not a wisdom of this present age, or of this world, nor of the leaders and rulers of this age, who are being brought to nothing and are doomed to pass away. But rather, what we are setting forth is a wisdom of God once hidden from the human understanding, and now revealed to us by God, that wisdom which God devised and decreed before the ages for glorification to us and to the glory of his presence. None of the rulers of this age or world perceived and recognized and understood this, for if they had, they would have never have crucified the Lord of glory.
The Lord of glory. The one that performed all of those miracles. Thank you. The one that performed all of the miracles. All the dynamite, all the dynamis power. Remember all of that? We looked at that word to begin with. That's the one. This is the one. Is this the 23rd? What is it? 23rd. All right, we'll start at 2 and 9 next week. Thank you for enduring the hard seats. And thank you, young ladies, for coming up here and reading for us from the Amplified Bible. All right, you'll be all over the world now. They'll know you everywhere. Let's have a word of prayer and go out and do what? Something eternal. Something eternal. What is your name? Jim. Tim. Tim, would you dismiss us in prayer, please, brother?
Dear Lord, we thank you once again for just blessing us with another view today. Thank you for this class and Brother Jim and all that you helped us with, Lord. We thank you for your word and the lesson it is to our lives. Just pray, Lord, that you help us to apply all that we've learned this week to our lives and share it with somebody throughout the coming week, Lord. And we pray that you bless each person here tonight, Lord, and keep us safe from it.
Amen.